Good morning. If you were here at the last session yesterday afternoon, you will have heard Jeff Kennett instruct me that this morning I had to ask you all if when you woke up this morning, one of the first things, if not the first thing you did, was to think about it and be grateful that you were alive. And Jeff wasn't to know this, but that was a particularly poignant thing to say because last night racing lost one of its finest in Dean Lester. For those of you from other countries who don't know Dean, he had a lifelong passion for thoroughbred racing and gave a lifetime of incredible service to this industry. If there's anything that's nice about this awfully sad thing, it's that several weeks ago RSN established a crowdfunding for Dean's medical bills and his living costs. The reaction was global and overwhelming, and I'd like to think that Dean saw that and knew just how appreciated he was by the racing community. Vale Dean Lester. On Tuesday, Winfred shared with us some metrics on the state of legal wagering, and it was encouraging to see that across the globe, wagering on racing by legal means is in reasonably good shape. And indeed, in some jurisdictions, it's growing strongly. We should also have an appreciation of the scale of illegal betting. United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime puts the total illegal market annually at US dollars 1.7 trillion. Now, that's not just racing, that's everything from US college football to British darts, but it gives us perspective. We're a sardine in a swimming pool full of sharks, and the sharks are multiplying and the sharks are growing. The Asian Racing Federation's Council on Anti-Illegal Betting and Related Financial Crime did a study where they scraped data from 50 global betting sites, and it's their assessment that the growth in illegal gambling is outstripping the growth in the legal market. So why does that matter? Why does it matter to racing? Why does it matter to society? The obvious issue, one that probably occurred to you first, is the threat to the integrity of sport. And other sports have started to appreciate that over the last couple of decades. For racing, because we've always lived with wagering, we have always understood the need to have controls, and we're reasonably well equipped to deal with the risks from betting in terms of the integrity of racing. But it's getting harder. One of the chief tools in the toolkit of those who are charged with the responsibility for upholding the integrity of racing had always been to observe fluctuations in odds and, where possible, trace the money. And in this current environment, that's more difficult. We could do it where it's a domestic setting, but where the operator is opaque and is operating out of a jurisdiction in some other continent, it's much more difficult. It's not impossible, though. And my colleague Tom Chignell from the Hong Kong Jockey Club will share with us a little later this morning some of what could be done in relation to that. Apart from the integrity risk, there's the risk to funding. The illegal market returns nothing to industry, just nothing. And for racing, which in most of our jurisdictions utterly depends on wagering for its revenues, this is an existential question. There are jurisdictions in this room which once had flourishing domestic racing scenes, but now are struggling because of the scale of the illegal market. Because, of course, the illegal operator doesn't care at all about the sustainability of racing. If racing withers, if racing dies, then there are any number of other contingencies upon which to bet. Beyond that direct economic pain that we suffer, there is an economic pain to the broader economy. The loss of the jobs that racing and breeding generates, the loss of the other economic benefits that racing creates, taxation, tourism, and the like. And then there are the social problems that are caused. Illegal betting is a licence for money laundering and a cash cow for organised crime. So far as problem gambling is concerned, axiomatically, the illegal operator cares not at all about responsible gambling. We started to seriously discuss these issues at the 36th Asian Racing Conference in Mumbai. And we determined then to go beyond discussion and to take material action. And so from that was created the Asian Racing Federation's Council on Anti-Illegal Betting and Related Financial Crime. And in the relatively brief period since then, it's achieved at least three very significant things. The first has been to produce rigorously academic assessments of the problem itself. And we've seen the Council publish last year the State of Illegal Betting Report, which is the most authoritative statement yet on the scale and nature of this problem globally. The second has been to start to make connections with the international and domestic agencies that are relevant to dealing with this issue. And already, the ARF Council has established working relationships with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, Interpol, the Council of Europe, and international bodies that are responsible for integrity in other sports, and relevant domestic agencies. The third has been to develop as a thought leader and a source of education and advice to governments and government agencies. Part of that has been to identify the role that a well-regulated legal wagering sector can play in dealing with the issue and the problems that are created by illegal operators. There are jurisdictions in this room where the taxation of wagering is at such punishing high levels that customers are driven into the arms of the illegal operators. There are jurisdictions in this room where the controls on offering new bet types, on the capacity to bet online, are so restrictive as to be asphyxiating, while the illegal operator has no controls whatsoever. And the Council is playing an important part in educating governments about this. Now, one of the strengths of this council is that it is a council. It is a collection of experts. And I'm very pleased that we have here today a number of those. We have the Deputy Chairman of the ARF Council, Doug Robinson. We have Sally Gainsbury from the University of Sydney, Catherine Ordway from the University of Canberra, and Tom Chignall, my colleague from the Hong Kong Jockey Club. Before we have them join us on the stage, though, we're going to hear from Michael Phelan. Michael Phelan, until late last year, was the CEO of the Australian Crime Commission, and effective from Tuesday of this week, he's a member of the ARF Council. And there is no one better qualified to speak to the links between illegal betting, organised crime and money laundering, the transnational nature of this issue, the threats that it poses to the integrity of sport and racing, and some of the things that might be available to address this issue. So I would like you to join me in welcoming Michael Phelan.